if you've got some game that's banking on the fact that it's unique, so and then the publisher changes their mind and says, "Oh, we want to release this now to beat this other game that's going to compete with us," then you can say, "Okay, give us a month, it'll be ready," and you can release something. It won't be the whole vision, but it'll be working perfectly and totally robust and releasable. And that's the idea of Scrum. If at any point in time, boom, you can release and within a month. And that's the idea of the sprints. So you have these 2 to 4 week cycles where you can release at any point after that cycle. And the code is always robust and it's always complete. There's never something that's half finished in there. So it works in modules and you just add modules on one by one. And so that's the overall cycle. And then within that, you have a team of 3 to 8 people is usually normal for a Scrum team. And then they will, every morning you have this meeting where everybody stands up and you say what you did today, what you did yesterday, and if there was anything blocking you from doing what you wanted to do. And you just do this every single day and it just keeps everybody on track. So, okay, so
just
yep.
for those of us who may have read something and be, confused, what's the relationship and things that are the same and different between Scrum and Agile? Because
okay,
it's all kind of fussy.
Yep. All right. Well, Agile is basically it's sort of a new movement in software development, where it's basically you don't do anything that doesn't make money. So doing documentation, it's not important. I mean, documentation as in design up front, like the code should be the documentation and the documentation should be the coding. And you don't write up anything that people aren't going to use or get value from. So and there's this Agile manifesto that always comes up when you start dealing with Agile, and it's basically just a set of points. So Agile is basically individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So it means that you don't worry so much how you get there, you worry about who's doing the job and looking after the people and the interactions and making sure there's good communication over writing up lots of documentation. And working software over comprehensive documentation. So like if you don't have a product to sell, if you don't have something that's quality and works, it doesn't matter how nicely you've written up the plan of how you're going to do it, or how many nice folders you've got on the wall that tell you how to do it. And I think really important is customer collaboration over contract negotiation. So you're trying not to fight your customers and sort of argue points to try and get out of the least amount of work possible. You want to make them happy because they're hitting your money. And so you're always talking to them, finding out what they want, showing it to them, getting feedback, making sure that they're happy and they're really pleased with the work you're doing, and hopefully they'll come back and give you more work. And responding to change over following a plan. Because if you're flexible, you can deal with circumstances that come up without sticking to this plan that's obviously not working. And though they're all important, like you tend to value the one over the other. So you do need to have documentation, and you do need to have some sort of planning up front, and some sort of requirements and everything. You can't just blaze in and start hacking something up without actually thinking about what you're doing. So it's just the emphasis of certain things over certain other things. And I think it came out of the software development being a big bureaucracy that sort of fitted in with this old factory style of production. And in making software, it's a creative thing, and it's an unknown, and it's exciting, and you're just diving into something where you don't know exactly how it will work. And you'll get new ideas along the way. And so it's just a design philosophy that fits in with that better. I think people just started realising. And it just seems to be this loose collection of techniques. So, I mean, I've got a few of them here. And it comes from all around the world. Like there's this Kaizen philosophy from Japan, which is, it just means like continuous improvement. And it basically means when you walk in the door at work, you say to yourself, how can I do my job better? And you look around and say, am I doing anything today that isn't making the company money? Is there something that's not giving value to my customer that I'm doing? so maybe I'm just having to fill in this form every day about like how the project's doing, ticking little boxes, like some documentation. Like, hey, why can't I just automate this and get it to fill it in and send it off to management every day so I don't have to think about it. And so that's, yep.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
Just
go
what
for it.
were we calling that process?
Kaizen, it's called.
K-A-I-Z-E-N.
K-A-I-Z-E-N. K-A-I-Z-E-N.
Cool. Thanks.
It's something else in Japanese. And so that came out of Toyota. And Toyota is known for making these really good cheap cars, and basically they just dominated the auto industry and wiped out everybody else through this philosophy. And it's something that's really applicable to Agile. So every day you're looking around saying, how is this team inefficient? What can I do to make it more efficient? Can I cut things out? Can I cut out steps in the process that don't actually make this a better game, don't accelerate our progress? And so another important point of that is feature-driven development. So say, if you're making a game engine, you could go and make this awesome Uber engine that just does everything and it's got all these really cool features, and then afterwards you go to make a game with it, and you might have spent years making this engine and you won't use 90% of the features. You might find out all you need is something that just draws a rectangle. So basically you don't put features in until they're needed or until they're requested by a customer. And so if you were, say, on the engine team, developing for the game team, you wouldn't put anything in the engine that the game developers wouldn't need. And so you're basically focusing on what feature the end user wants. So say if you're making a 2D game, like you wouldn't bother putting 3D in the engine, and you just tunnel down the requirements for the engine through what the developers need to do. And the developers tunnel down the features that they put in the game from what's actually fun. So you wouldn't, from an overall design point of view, to come up with a game design from an Agile point of view is you leave out everything that wasn't fun, anything that people wouldn't actually pay for in the game. So, and I've noticed that with Valve, they have a really ugly, buggy front end for a lot of their games, but it's not what makes them money. People don't care. They want to skip through that and go and play TF2 or something, and they don't care about the UI. And so they've cut out things that people don't care about. And then people aren't going to actually pay for. Like, I'm not going to pay extra for a fancy UI, so why put it in the game? And so I think the feature-driven development is it's an important part of Agile, and also it's about quality. So it's when you rush things, like you can start off really fast and then eventually you get bogged down because everything's a mess. So Agile is also, there's an emphasis on consistency and being able to keep up the pace. So there's no crunch time, and there's no sort of scrambles to integrate everything at the end, because you're doing that, you're spreading that out of the whole Scrum cycle. And so it's consistent. So you can plug away at it for year after year after year and turn up and expect the same sort of workload, and it just makes everything more consistent. And but to do that, you need quality. Things have to keep improving, not degenerating, becoming more and more messy, and so it has to be sustainable. And to do that, you need to bring in all these quality controls as you're working, and not just at the end of the project. Like all the way through, you have to be bug testing and writing tests for your code. And I mean, not everybody's a coder here, so I won't go into the code specifics, but you could look at test-driven development is really good, and continuous integration servers. So you've got a machine sitting there just constantly building all your code and compiling, and when there's an error, like all these alarms go off and you have to go and fix it, and or do 20 push-ups or whatever as punishment to stop people doing it. And so there are all these things from the code point of view that you can do to make a project more robust. And talking of coders, I just like to, something that worries me is when it comes to artists working under Scrum. And because I know I was on a team with mostly coders and one artist, and he started going to our daily stand-up meetings, and then in the end he just go, there's nothing for me to talk about.